Thank you so much, Dr. Das, and a very good afternoon to all of you. Suchir, the presentation was very nice and crisp, and I think you covered right from the biology of fouling to the use of AI ML in containing the biofouling process. Now, the way that I have been working on biofouling is quite different. Let me put it in the context. I'm a biochemist by training, so the way I look at biofouling is the mechanism by which biofouling actually occurs. In order to understand, I think Suchir has already told us the way in which biofouling occurs. But I will just put it into three, four steps. One is the conditioning of the film, that is, whatever the surface is existent. So it is kind of conditioned so that a biofilm is formed. Then you have a bacterial biofilm which is formed and established due to the production of extracellular polysaccharides. Then you have microfouling, and then you have what is called as macrofouling. Now, whenever we are talking, or from a biotechnologist perspective, whenever you are talking about biofouling, I can categorize it into soft fouling, hard fouling. I can also categorize it into temporal or seasonal fouling or persistent fouling. So it is essential for us to understand, when we have to address the problem, it is essential for us to understand the conditions in which this biofouling is actually taking place. And for that, we need to understand the physiology of the ocean or the water body in which the ship or the surface has been immersed, and the duration for which it has been immersed. Now, if I have to talk about the physiological, physicochemical characteristics of the water body, of course, as Suchir also mentioned, you have temperature, salinity, nutrients, presence of eutrophication, the light, the depth, the current velocity, water motion, DO, pH. All of these parameters play a very crucial role in the type of biofilm that is formed, and we need to understand that and then try to find out a solution. What has been happening is, when we are talking about containing biofouling, anti-fouling is probably one of the most used strategies for taking care of fouling. There are experts in the audience and they can correct me if I'm wrong. But as far as my reading goes, anti-fouling agents have had the largest share of the market for your taking care of biofouling. Now, if I have to understand, let me throw a little bit light on the biochemistry of fouling. And for the sake of convenience of this August gathering, let me just correlate it that these are nothing but just biological molecules. Example is that of proteins, which are allowing the organisms to stick onto the surface. And these are amino acids which all of us are aware of. And if I have to give you a context, these are similar to amyloid plaques. Now, all of us know of Alzheimer's, the disease which is causing an havoc, and in that case also you have amyloid plaque formation, in which these proteins agglomerate together to form such stiff structures that it is difficult to take care or destroy these structures, and similar structures are formed when you're in the biochemistry of fouling. Now, these are, you have also different adhesive proteins also, and they have some amino acids which are in common, and one of them is dopa. Now, we must have heard of dopa, it is a neurotransmitter also. So there is a similarity between what is happening and what we are trying to eradicate and what we are actually trying to study. So besides this, I think this fouling organisms is once again a three-dimensional habitat that we need to take care of. What is the, are there any advantages of biofouling? And people in the audience may react to this, but there are definitely advantages of biofouling. I'm not talking from an obviously the economics, but from the science perspective. Remember that they are creating a habitat and increasing local biodiversity. Please don't connect it to the drag on the ships and the increase in fuel burden when I'm making this statement. It is purely from a scientific perspective as to what are the different ways in which we can look at biofouling. So there are various algae, sponges, mussels, barnacles, and these structures, they provide shelter, attachment surfaces, and feeding areas for smaller organisms. So if you're looking at the biodiversity in a particular area which has immense biofouling, you will find higher biodiversity as compared to the rest of the areas. They also support food webs, which is also crucial for sustainability in an ocean. They also enable water filtration because they are used. So filter feeding organisms, you have filter feeding organisms like mussels, you have oysters, you have sponges, which kind of remove suspended particles, planktons, and organic matter from water, and that is how they can act in clearing or improvising the local water body quality, water quality of the local water body, and water quality regulation also. Biofouling, or the organisms that are involved in biofouling, they contribute immensely to nutrient and carbon cycling, and this is also something that we need to take care of. They can serve as indicators of bioindicators, as we call them, or you can call them ecosystem engineers, so that we understand the physicochemical characteristics, the change in the physicochemical characteristics that is happening in the local environment, and we need to understand that if we have to contain biofouling. So instead of using, or of course, the need for anti-fouling agents is must, but it is essential to see the way in which we can control the physicochemical parameters of the water body, so that the first adhesion or the first colonization of the microorganisms or the microscopic organisms or the organic molecules on the surface is reduced. Another way of looking at it is, for once again from a biotechnologist perspective, is these are potential areas of finding bioactive molecules, since when we are talking about adhesion, form adhesion onto a surface in water, it's just, so if I have to give an example to my students, it is like sticking two rulers or two scales inside water using Fevicol. We cannot. But the barnacles, the mussels are effectively enabling it with the use of organic glues or organic gums, and these find immense application in surgical processes. These are being explored in various surgical processes because in physiology you have similar surfaces, and that is where, from once again our perspective, we are looking at agents of fouling. Now, as Suchir also mentioned, there are various preventive and design based measures to take care of biofouling, and I think he has covered quite in details. And you have physical mechanical control, you have anti-fouling agents, you have design of biomimetic surfaces, and this is also where we are working on, and where you have the lotus leaf or super hydrophobic surfaces, which will not allow the organic molecules to colonize, which will probably decrease the water contact angle. You can have micro or nanostructured patterns, you can have mucus like hydrated polymer layers, which will not allow the first colonization to take place. Besides that, all of us are aware that there are copper and copper based agents that have been used for anti-fouling. I believe that the most effective approach is an integrated one, and that involves, I think, the smooth design, use of appropriate coating, the need for regular inspection, controlled cleaning, safe disposal, and regulatory compliances. Whenever we are talking about the use of anti-fouling agents or scraping it physically also, remember all of that is getting dislodged in the water body, which is in which the ship or the surface is housed. So they are going to come back probably, and they are going to cause biofouling once again. So a holistic approach is required, which will take care of the environment also, as well as prevent biofouling onto the surfaces that we desire. So I think that is it from my end.